Greetings, comrades. My apologies if we again lose each other as it happened in the previous video because of load shedding. Load shedding does affect our internet. So in the last video, where we're talking about writing to the Department of Home Affairs or submitting your application, we lost each other along the way. But a lot of information was shared with you. But now we want to talk about a survey that was done by the Zimbabwe community in South Africa. You remember that on the 23rd of December 2021, we started circulating a form in our media platforms for holders of ZEP to complete. We were looking for some information. We were able to survey or to reach out to 2,242 people. So 2,242 respondents responded to the survey. We wanted to understand the status of holders of ZEP, as this will help us as we negotiate with the South African government and the other stakeholders. It's important that we know who the holders of these Zimbabwe exemption permits are. We are moving away from generalizing. We need to be more scientific in terms of our numbers. Unfortunately, I didn't do mathematics, so I'm told by my colleague who is an expert in mathematics says 2,242 out of 178,000 holders of ZEP represents about 0.79% that we are circulating, so that those that still want to respond to the survey will do so. Now, the first question that we were asking, which we are trying to zero in on, wanted to understand what we call occupational category. So of the 2,242 respondents, we wanted to check work of domestic workers or helpers. That also includes gardeners. We also, those that are doing general work and the construction, that this represents 36.4% of those that responded to our survey. And then the next category in the next skilled people that we're looking for is the medium skill. In terms of the skill, medium skill, these are plumbers, mechanic, electrician, waiter, and so forth. This represents 23.3%. And then we didn't get anyone of high skill, your engineer, doctor, professor, we didn't get anyone. Educators, we got 12.9%. And then we that is those that are under the category, occupation category. We then checked the number of years people have lived in South Africa. So of the 2,242 respondents, and those that have lived from between 10 to 15 years, is 56.5%. Holders of ZEP that have lived for between 10 and 15 years is 56.5%. This means that these people have been living in South Africa way before the ZEP. And then those that have lived for more than that, 20 to 25 years, represents 12.8%. So it means again, these people were living close to a decade without being documented. And then those that have been in South Africa for 20 to 25 years, between 50, first we said 10 to 15 years, that's 56.5%. Between 15 and 20 years, that is 25%. between 20 to 25 years, that's 12.8%. That is the number of years people have lived in South Africa. We then looked into the age group. So of the respondents that responded, of the 2,242 responses, those between the ages of 25 to 35, that's 9.1%. Of 45 to 50, that's 45 to 50, that's 21.5%. And then in the highest number, at 52.3%, are those that are 65 and above. Those are the age groups. So you will notice that in the age group of the 2,242 respondents, in the youth category, which is 25 to 35, is 9.1%. Otherwise, the rest are outside the youth bracket. We also wanted to find out in terms of gender of those that are holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits. 51.4% are male, and then 48.5 48.5% are female. So 51.4% are male, 48.5% are female holders of ZEP. We are talking about the 2,242. That check in which provinces are the holders of ZEP. Unfortunately, we only got responses 81.3% from Gauteng. The other provinces, there's no indication. I think our team is going to be working on this again, but 81.3% of the respondents are in Gauteng. We've always said that Gauteng is highly concentrated with the migrants, whether migrants from internal migrants or international migrants. And then we wanted to also establish the provinces where they come from in Zimbabwe. Those that responded, the 2,242 responses that we got, 26.7%, they come from Bulawayo, and then 26.2%, they come from Matabeleland South. That's my home province. And then 17.5%, they come from Matabeleland North. So all the respondents that completed are from Matabeleland region, the 2,242. You will know that people from Matabeleland over the years have been coming to South Africa, and we did a number of videos where we even spoke about some who joined the liberation struggle from South Africa. We then, at the time, we wanted to check if one's passport has expired or they have a passport, because we had last year we're dealing with the challenges of passports. 43.6% at the time have said that their passport had expired and they had submitted an application for a new passport. Their passport had expired, but they submitted an application for a new passport. And then 35.6% said has expired, but new application not yet submitted. But we think that most of the people now have been able to acquire passport, because we do not have many people who are complaining about them having difficulty in accessing the Zimbabwean passport. We also wanted to check if holders of ZEP have children born in South Africa. So of the 2,242 respondents, they said 64 and 35.7% said no. And then we asked the question, are your children staying in South Africa? Meaning, are they staying with their parents? Because in the media, there's been a discussion around the question of children born in South Africa. Here we had 1,457 respondents. So out of 2,242 responses that we have been getting in a number of questions which I've highlighted, here we only had 1,457. Then 66.5% said yes, they stay with their children in South Africa, and 33.5% said no. And I would imagine that the 35.7% are those that still have their families in Zimbabwe, who have not moved their families to South Africa. And then we asked the question, are your children starting in South Africa? And then 1,457 respondents, or 1,457 responded to this question. 57.2% said yes, while 42.8% said no. Then we asked the question, do your children have a study permit in South Africa? Because this has been a challenge. Only 11.6% said yes. The respondents, people who responded to this question, were 1,457. So they said, while even they are holders of ZEP, so we had 11.6% saying their children are documented or are on permits, while 88.4% do not have study permits. We are talking about parents that are holders of ZEP while their children didn't have study permits. We then asked, do you have any immovable assets in South Africa? 2,242 people responded. 36.6% said yes, they have immovable assets, while 63.4% said no. We then asked the next question, do you have any policies in South Africa, that is financial investments, pension, etc.? 2,242% said no, they do not have, while 62% said yes. We then asked this question, are you self-employed? 2,242 responded. 16.4% said yes, and 83.6% said no. We then asked if people are operating registered businesses. So the question was, do you have a registered business in South Africa? 2,168 people responded. Of those that responded, 11% said yes, and then 89% said no. So what is not clear, because remember earlier on, were to respond to the question of people that are working in terms of different categories. So we suspect that even others that are working who are not necessarily running businesses simple then answered this question. So this might not give a clear picture in terms of the businesses that are registered. Do you have a business where you get an income? 2,242 responded. 17.6% says I'm a vendor and I sell items. These might be people selling in the streets or in some market. And then 29% said I'm self-employed but business not formally registered, e.g. a hairdresser and rent a chair at a salon, or a plumber who get jobs, or electrician, mechanic, etc. And then is 52.5% said I do not have a business. We then had to ask if holders of ZEP have acquired any skills in South Africa. 2,242 people responded. 51.9% says yes, they've acquired new skill in South Africa, while 48.1% said no. We then had to ask this question, any training done by your company or via company in terms of short courses or at the workplace? 2,242 responded. Of those, 51.9% said yes, they've been able to access training in their companies, while 48.1% said no. We then asked if they have received contract termination or warning in the event that the permit is not renewed. 2,242 answered this question in the following. 9.2% said yes, they have received a notice or a warning of termination of contract if their permits is not renewed. 37.9% said no, they have not received, and 52.9% said not yet. So that means only 9.2% have been informed by their employer that if they do not renew their permits, they will lose their jobs. Have you received any bank account termination warning for not having valid work permit? 2,242 people responded. 38% said yes. 37.2% said no. No, sorry. Have you received any bank account termination warning for not having a valid work visa? 38% said yes. 24.8% said no, and 37.2% said not yet. And then the other questions are for internal Zimbabwe community in South Africa. So that's the survey that we started to launch on the 23rd of December. 0.79% of holders of the Zimbabwe exemption permit. Remember, 178,000 are holders of ZEP. So we're able to reach to 2,242 through our research. We will, in the next video, discuss our form, how we carry out the research, so that if missed, who want to participate in this research can participate. We will then publish the results of this research sometime towards end of September. Otherwise, comrades, let me see what is written. Comrade Deliwe Grace says, don't waste time for your people, please. Comrade Deliwe Grace, the reality of the matter is that migrants are in South Africa, and the South African laws says everyone who is in South Africa must be registered, meaning one should not live in South Africa without being registered. If you are not registered, you back to your country of origin. I followed the interviews done by the Minister of Home Affairs today. Was giving a breakdown of the permits that have been issued to Zimbabwean nationals, be they critical skills, be they study visa, and so forth and so forth. Was giving a breakdown. So in line with the cabinet decision, we need to respect that decision and ensure that holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits do move to other visas. That is those that are able. So it is our duty to ensure that we reach out to everyone to say you have a chance to move to another visa. If you don't do so by the 31st of December, you'll be expected to be out of South Africa. So it's important to do so. So, Comrade Deliwe Grace, while I understand what you are in undocumented, Comrade Nyasha says next video, and then our media team will circulate the questionnaire in our media platforms. We will circulate Nyasha, Comrade Nyasha Tick. Otherwise, comrades, thank you so much. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you to all those that have taken time to subscribe. Please circulate to your contacts. We are not able to reach everyone, but through you, we can reach out to as many as ZEP holders as possible. We need to work together on this so that by the 31st of December, no one will say they did not have information on what to do. This is why in the earlier video, we're encouraging holders of ZEP to submit their applications, or at least to write to the Department of Home Affairs and ask for advice. So please, let's do so that we do not find ourselves by end of the year not being documented because we did not respond to what was directed to us to say, please apply. If you're unable to apply, you have challenges, please ask for assistance from the Department of Home Affairs, we just have to do so that every ZEP holder who wants to remain in South Africa is documented. Otherwise, comrades, have a great evening. Goodbye.